A good environment isn't entirely dependent on an upgraded system. Issues on the back end have a cascading effect on users' experience and productivity. Visibility and system insight is very rarely considered when assessing the effectiveness of your systems. Research shows improvement in power, speed, and capability of IT systems results in increased end-user productivity. Working more than necessary to find workarounds for customers' employees' frustrations and still coming up empty-handed is a common and now unnecessary experience among IT pros. Getting the right managed service not only takes pressure off your shoulders, but gives you complete visibility and meaningful data. You can have the insight you need to be proactive rather than reactive, highlighting issues, pain points, and potential risks before you, your users, and customers are affected. This demo will run through Predictive Insight and Analytics, showcasing how you can improve your systems. When we want to delve a little deeper into the root cause analysis side of PIA, we move to the black box tool. This is where we are able to, at a single point in time or over a period of time, understand exactly what was going on a server, as well as start to see these dots and lines and trends appear that signify if there's been some kind of metric breach or application fault. We can then drill down onto a particular one of these to understand from a resource and user perspective what was going on the server at that particular point in time. This allows us, still at a fairly high level, to understand what sort of problems were going on at that particular time and what potentially was contributing to that particular issue that was seen. We are then able to continue drilling down further into various different metrics and points of views to understand really exactly what the root cause of the particular issue was, or at least point us in the right direction as to start drilling down in other sections of the tool to find out exactly what's going on. The dashboard we are looking at now gives us real-time resource consumption and the processes or services that are running on any particular server. It enables us to get an idea of how utilized a server is on a day-by-day basis, as well as generally what the applications are that are the biggest resource consumers. The tool also gives us the ability to go back to any particular point in time over the past 90 days and see what was happening at that particular point in time. We are also able from here to drill down into the specific different resource metrics to gain a little bit more of an insight as to exactly what's going on. When looking at root cause analysis, we start with this high-level overview, and this is when we look at this health section. This gives us a day-by-day breakdown of the health of a particular server, and this is useful to give us an understanding of the trend of the environment's health and know that when we're making remediations or tracking issues, we're able to identify whether that health score is going up or down, as well as allows us to look at a tangible impact as to particular issues on the users. This also gives us a good ability to look back in time as what the most prevalent issues are within your environment, so we know exactly what we should be focusing on to help improve that end user experience. The first thing we look at is the first launch time seen in the top right hand corner. This is looking at the initial load time, which is expected to be longer due to the extra processes such as AD and group policy loads that have to happen before the application or desktop becomes available. This obviously is talking about a virtualized environment, but we can do the same sort of monitoring with a desktop or normal server, but we look at the boot time instead of that initial load time. Then we start looking at the average load times. This is the second or third launch that a user initiates once the first launch has been complete, and one would generally expect these subsequent launches to be significantly quicker. This is when we start looking at the custom SLAs and start talking about the virtual engineer that we were able to deploy as part of PIA. As you can see, we have 3 different launch time thresholds, green, yellow, and red. And these are built off predetermined agreements of what an acceptable launch time would be. Some actions of the virtual engineer will then be to be taken if these SLAs are breached. For example, if it goes into the yellow perhaps, the action taken is that a ticket will be logged in the service desk or an email might just be sent to someone, whereas if it goes into the red, the virtual engineer might start taking some form of action, whatever that may be. The power of PIA is also in the ability for us to target the most crucial applications for your business. So the examples shown here will be replaced by what is necessary to you. Then if we look at the tables below them, we see some basic information around how many users are utilizing the application, just to give us a rough idea of the load on the applications and how heavily utilized they are. And then we look at these tables in the bottom right hand corner, and this is just so we can start seeing a trend across the environment in terms of application load time. We then start looking at the desktop and server health. And this is what we're seeing in the bottom left hand corner. PIA creates a health score from 0 to 100 that is a combination of 15 different metrics, 6 of which you can see here. But some of the other ones are things like latency, application launch times, application faults, Windows event logs, and a whole range of different other things to see this score that is given here. The higher the score, the healthier the server. This provides an initial insight into the performance users might experience, as well as where the focus should be placed when looking at remediation, upgrades, and proactive maintenance. Then next we have the application latency. This is looking at the latency between the application and Citrix, but we can target this application to look at any particular point in that overall communication path. So this could look at the latency between that Citrix server and a particular dependency. And this gives us a really good understanding of exactly where the latency is coming from. Get in touch with Incentra today for any questions you may have, or leave a comment below. If you thought this was useful, you might know someone who else will too, so hit share.